Holyhills Radio. Listen to Holyhills Radio. Listen to Holyhills.
Thank you very much for logging on to Holyhills Radio. Champion station, the super duper radio station. My name is Bismark Omari Somuah. We thank God for another beautiful, beautiful evening. The program is Echoes of Grace. Mr. Isaac Pinto is the man in charge of the machine, of course, our CEO also. Mr. Chris Aduteria is the producer of this wonderful program. My name is Bismark Omari Somuah. One more time. And tonight we are privileged to have one more time our subject matter expert. Powerful, powerful woman of God. And our researcher. So we are going to go right away into business. And tonight we are going to talk about Esther. What a wonderful, wonderful book. So take your Bibles, call a friend to join us live on your super duper radio station. Once again, it's my pleasure to have Mrs. Sylvia Aryee with us right here. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last time we met, we had a very fruitful discussion, and the feedback we received was just awesome. And today, I believe we are going to have yet another wonderful, wonderful session.
By the grace of God.
So how is it going?
We had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We went to church today. It's not been easy, but God is God. And
that's right.
He's taking us through.
That's right. That's right. I like it when you say God is God. Yes. I thought you were going to say God is good. That is a cliche everybody says, but yes. God is more than good.
Yes.
Yeah, because even the bad things that happen to us is good.
Yes.
The things that He even allows later on, we would understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the stuff we would not even end up in heaven if He had not allowed them to come into our lives to draw us closer to Him. Right. Yeah, so we thank God. Like you said, we thank God for everything. We will go right away. The book of Esther is a book that normally we don't preach from, but it's a very crucial book. I think it's a very important book that we all have to make time and study. Before we go into anything, can you tell us a little bit about Esther?
Yes, so Esther, I have titled her as the woman with humility, the brave woman who was able to deliver her people from captivity.
Wow.
Through her bravery, she was able to deliver her people from captivity. She was not the most likely person to have been chosen by God or even to become queen. We'll discuss that further.
Okay.
But by the pure grace and favor of God, she was chosen to be queen, and subsequently God used her to deliver His people, the Jews, from captivity. Esther was adopted by her uncle, Mordecai, who was Esther's father was Mordecai's uncle, Abihail. And I understand during the war, most people perished. Esther, as a baby, survived. That was a miracle. Yes, as a baby, she survived. She survived. So God kept her alive for a reason, for a time as such.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's somebody who was very willing to listen and learn, extremely humble. Her characteristics are just super. Yes.
Wow,
yes.
wow. So the favor of God was upon her life.
Exactly. She had favor before God and before man. You need both.
You need both.
Yes.
And how do you obtain both?
God gives us the ability. God gives people the ability to favor us.
Okay.
If God doesn't permit it,
you won't have it.
Yes. Some people have riches. They have all kinds of wealth. They don't have any respect from mere
even
men.
Though they have money.
Yes, they have everything.
Have all the, that's true.
Yes,
that's
they have
true.
everything, but they don't have favor before man.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're nobody. Nobody knows who you are, even with all your riches. Even though money comes with people, but then there are sometimes, if you don't have favor before man, with all your riches, nobody knows you, nobody cares.
So the people will be with you, but their hearts are not necessarily with you.
Exactly. They don't love you.
They love your money.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
This is
Or they talk to you anyhow. Yes, you are rich, but then you don't have favor. So God uses people to favor you, rich or poor. God uses people to favor you, and when God favors you, He favors you, and through that, others you also get favor or gain favor before other men.
Wow. Wow. Subject matter expert. This is deep. This is really deep. So it doesn't really. So that means you don't really need money. You need favor.
Correct.
Because favor will bring the money.
Yes.
And it will come with the respect you need.
Correct. Even if you don't get the money, everything comes to you so easily.
Wow. Yeah.
Because you have favor before God, before man. You need anything, you know God will use somebody to remember you, to favor you, and give it to you. You don't have to necessarily be wealthy to enjoy life. It takes the peace of God. It takes the grace of God. It takes favor before God and man to be able to enjoy a meaningful life.
Wow. Like he says in Luke chapter 2, verse 52, even Jesus needed favor with men and with God. Even Jesus.
Yes.
So that means we as ordinary people, we even need it more.
Correct.
I can see today we are going to learn a lot.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so that's deep. And now let's come to Mordecai. Can you tell us a little bit about Mordecai too?
Yes. So Mordecai, I call him the loving father.
Okay.
Mordecai allowed himself to be the father he never thought he would be to Esther. When Esther was brought to him as a baby, he told the woman who brought Esther to him and said, "I am not a nurse, baby. Or I'm not a nurse that can nurse a baby. I'm a man. How can I even raise a child as this?" But he took it upon himself, raised Esther like his own, and in the end, look at the reward he gained. Mordecai was also the man who stood his grounds and said he would not bow down to any man if he is not God. So we'll look further, or as we discuss further, we'll talk about the man Haman. The main subject here with Mordecai, whenever we mention Mordecai, we have to remember Esther and most importantly Haman, which was what brought about all the whole story was also very important in the book of Esther. So Haman had been made second in command, and the king decreed that because he is now second in command, every man must bow before him, whether he's passing, whether he approaches you. Wherever you see Mordecai, bow down and worship him. Yes. Sorry. Wherever you see Haman, I apologize. Wherever you see Haman, you are supposed to bow down, no matter who you are.
Wow.
Because Haman was second in command. His only boss was the king. So servants, people in the outskirts, everywhere, anybody was supposed to bow down by the king. And what the king says is final. You are supposed to abide by it, or you could be killed. So Mordecai didn't care. He said, "I worship only God. I bow down to only God. I'm not going to bow down to anybody."
Wow.
But God, not even the king. I don't care. So that is if you stand by your word when it comes to God, or if you stand your grounds when it comes to, you know, the right thing, you do it, God rewards you in there. He didn't care. He knew he could be killed if the king heard about it, because the king decreed it. Haman did not put it upon himself to say, "Okay, I'm decreeing everybody should bow to me when you see me passing." It was decreed by the king himself. So he was supposed to respect it. But he felt it wasn't right. That, who are you? You're a man like I am. You're just a king. Fine. We are to hail you and everything. I will do all that, but I will not bow down to you because you are not God. Haman did not understand that, because it says, well, because you're Jews, wherever you came from, there were refugees too in Persia.
Right.
So wherever you came from, we have smaller gods here, we have gods here. Here in Persia, where you find yourself in, I am God, so you are to bow to me. But he didn't need to, he wasn't ready to do that. And that bothered Haman a lot. Mordecai was also the man who delivered the king from being assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in the kitchen in the palace, and then he was promoted to be a gatekeeper. So he was at the gate, and he wasn't there alone. He was there with other, they call them eunuchs. He was there with other eunuchs.
Okay.
So Mordecai was there at his post, and he overheard one of them or two of the gentlemen at the gate plotting to kill the king. For reasons best known to them, maybe they were mad at the law he passed, or they were mad at something, because you can't just get up and say, okay, I want to kill the king. There must be a reason. So we don't really know what the reason was, but then he overheard them discussing how they were going to plot to kill King Ahasuerus. And immediately he was able to send word to Esther to tell the king, hey, tell the king to be careful. This is what the people, your gate people are planning against you. That was very, very significant in Mordecai's life because it saved him later on. What he did for the king, he saved the king's life ultimately, and that got recorded in the book. They called it the Chronicles or so. It got recorded in the book. So the king had a book called the Chronicles, where he records significant things that has gone on in his reign. So he recorded it there. But he never got rewarded until later. So that is who Mordecai is.
So the king keeps records.
Yes.
And this alone is deep.
Yes.
So the real king that we serve, if an earthly king was keeping records of good deeds that people were doing to him, then that means the real king that we are serving has all the records of all the good things we are doing.
Absolutely.
And why are Christians not conscious of this fact? That one day they are going to be rewarded, just like it happened.
Yes.
What could be the reason why we don't care, like we don't take the things of God seriously?
Because God gives us everything. Like some of the things we don't even pray for, but He's gracious enough to give it to us.
Right.
We are comfortable. Like we are okay with wherever we are. We don't want to push further to do extra or go the extra mile, go above and beyond for God. I'm okay. I have a job. I'm okay. I get what I eat. Who begs for food in America?
Right.
You know?
Right.
If I get what I eat, if I get a place to sleep, I'm okay. And that's all that matters to people. So most people would know, most Christians do not try to go or wouldn't like to go the extra mile because, I mean, I hear I don't really care because I have the basics of life.
Once I'm okay,
I'm okay. I mean, I don't have to necessarily feed the poor or help somebody in need. They can also find someone to ask for help for. I don't care what God records, you know. We easily forget about that aspect that God has. God also records the things that we do. Yes, so we are easily forgettable, and because we have everything we need, we are comfortable. We don't care about that anymore until something really. Most people even go to God until they don't go to God until something happens in their lives.
Yeah, because when you are saying it just hit me that so if an earthly king who just has basic resources is thinking about recording stuff that we do, the good that people have done to him, then that means that the king that we serve has a lot of records.
Yes.
And one day there will be things that will be told to us that we will be surprised.
Yes. Records good and the bad. He sees it all.
He sees it all.
All-knowing God.
That's right.
Yes.
So we need to be careful.
Yes.
We need to be very careful, the kind of things that we do.
Yes. In your secret, where nobody is watching, God is watching. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. For those who are just joining us, this is Holyhills Radio. This is your champion radio station. We're streaming live from Reynoldsburg, Ohio. My name is Bismark Omari Somuah. Today we have our subject matter expert, and we are talking about Esther. We are talking about Esther, how she obtained favor. So far, that's what the subject matter has touched on, favor, and also the fact that records are kept. So we should be very careful the kind of stuff that we put out and the kind of stuff that we do, because one day it will be played back to us. We should be very, very conscious of everything that we do. And then let's talk about Queen Vashti. This woman, I don't know, she's a lesson to everybody. Sometimes taking a lot of, like you made mention earlier on, taking a lot of stuff for granted. Why was the king angry with him?
I don't believe the king was only angry, he was humiliated.
Okay.
So I just want us to read a little bit about just a summary. I just summarized what happened before the king called for Vashti. So when you read Esther chapter 1, verse 1 to 10, I just summarized it in bulletins. The king ruled, King Ahasuerus. He ruled over 127 provinces.
Wow.
Stretching from India to Kush. And then he also held a banquet for his nobles and officials. The nobles and officials in that city, or in the entire 127 provinces.
Wow.
These are noble people he's invited over. He included the military leaders of Persia and Media. The princes and the nobles of the provinces were all present. For a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and the splendor and glory of his majesty. Verse 5. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days in the enclosed garden of the king's palace for all the people from the least to the greatest to enjoy. Wine was served in goblets of gold, each one different from the other, and the royal wine was abundant. Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of the king. So you understand from the passage that there has been a lot of drinking going on.
Okay.
The king had very important and significant people, at the gathering. So for the king to have called, he didn't just call, he sent his eunuchs to go and grab her, because he was displaying everything he had.
Showing how powerful
yes,
he
the
was.
party was just to display his glory, his wealth, just drinking, celebrating. It wasn't for anything. Just, I'm showing you what I have, who I am, how powerful I am. Okay, and I also want to show you that the queen in this palace is also very beautiful, more beautiful than probably all of your women.
Okay.
All of your queens.
Okay.
She's very beautiful to behold. He told them. So he's bragged a lot about her. Only for the servants to come back and say, okay, king, your queen said she's not coming. I won't come, just like that.
Wow.
Okay, so he was humiliated. He was mad, and the whole the nobles and the big people there were all amazed, because nobody dares to refuse the king. You could be put to death, and Vashti knew that. But I'm very sure Vashti believed that probably he was drunk. So after all, if I just say, okay, I'm not coming, he's drunk, he wouldn't be conscious enough to know what sin she had committed.
Right.
So go and tell the king that Vashti, I said I'm not coming. And the servants went, and then they said the same. But unfortunately for her, the king was very much aware of himself. What?
You're not coming?
You're not coming? Who disobeyed the king? And if probably it was just between the king and Esther and his servants, it wouldn't be to that degree of disgrace.
Right.
But he had noble people there. He had dignified people there. He had a lot of big and important people at the time at the gathering. So he wasn't willing. I mean, it was a disgrace to him. So he had to gather his wise men and decide on what to do to Vashti. Vashti's refusal, I read in the Bible, from what I understood, was the king commanded, when the king commanded her to come or approach, he said something. Go and call me Vashti and tell her to wear her crown. I want to read that part for us to take a look at it.
Okay. You are still watching us live on Holyhills Radio.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, please.
So, on the verse 11, when we read Esther chapter 1, the verse 11, it says, the king sent 7 eunuchs to bring before him Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown in order to display her beauty to the people and nobles, for she was lovely to look at. Okay. Obviously, the queen is going to be wearing her crown. Wherever she was, wherever the queen was, she was going to be wearing her crown. That was part of her clothes. So if the king commanded that Vashti should come wearing her crown, then it means he wanted her to appear nude.
Oh, really?
That's how I understood
Okay.
it, because he stated emphatically that she should come wearing her royal crown.
Okay.
So she probably felt that the king wanted to make fun of her. And that was why I'm just trying to understand why she refused to.
Yeah, probably. Because he was drunk too, so he could have made a very... something that was not making sense, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because people, when you're drunk, you do things that you wouldn't do when you're not. So she felt it was wise not to go, because she's going to be appearing before thousands of drunken men. Anything can happen to her. She could also be humiliated.
Yeah.
So that was why she didn't want to go. I'm just trying to understand why Vashti didn't go. But all in all, this is the king. If you didn't want to go, you could have gone yourself and said, "Okay, I'm very sorry. This is who I am. I wouldn't want to stay, in your midst for a long time. Or I'm not feeling well." She could have even lied and said, "Okay, I'm not feeling well," or something, because she knew what the consequences were going to be appearing before drunken men. So there was a better way she could have gone about it than just to say.
So either way, she was going to be in trouble.
Yes. Yes, she felt like, okay, you guys are drunk. I don't want to come before. I don't want to be among you if you're drunk. And at the time, she was also holding a party.
Oh, okay.
For the women or the queens. So the men came with their women, while the king hosted the nobles. The queen also hosted the queens in Persia.
Okay.
So the men were on their side and the women were on their side.
Okay.
So the king got humiliated and angry that he was disobeyed. And Vashti was probably the first person to refuse the king like that.
Wow.
She was probably, and she knew the consequences, but she did it anyway because she felt she was going to be humiliated. And she learned far too late that it could have, the king was aware of himself and knew what he was talking about when he said, "Go and call me Vashti." She learned too late. The other thing was, after the wise men met, they all decided that no, all the women are here also. All the queens are here also. If they find out what Vashti had done and they go back to their palaces, they are going to be disrespectful to their kings as well. So they had to banish her so that the women could learn from it, that if you disrespect the king, this is what is going to happen to you.
This is deep.
So Vashti made pride overtake her, and it led to her downfall. Pride leads to downfall. Yes.
So that means disobeying the king has consequences.
Yes.
And if we disobey the King of Kings, then that means it's serious.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes we just take things for granted, but God wants us to do something and we don't take it serious.
No.
If an earthly king who was even drunk is making you pay, is making you feel the consequences of disobeying him, then how much more the King of Kings? So we should be very careful also about the things. That is a good one.
Yeah.
What lessons should women draw from the life of Queen Vashti?
Pride is not a good thing. Pride is not a good thing. She was beautiful. She knew that. She made her beauty more important than any other thing. I know I'm beautiful. I mean, I don't have to appear before these men who have wasted themselves, and probably they could, harm me or humiliate me. I mean, she had a point, but then there's a better way she could have gone about it. So when you're a woman and you're in a situation like that, know how to go about it. Seek wisdom from God. We fall in all kinds of situations that are not fair to us, but it will take the wisdom of God to overcome. So I believe if she had thought a little bit about it and said, okay, this is the king calling for me. I dare not disobey him. How can I go about it and, for it to be a win-win situation?
Wow.
So if she had thought deeply into it, she probably could have given a better answer to the king than just say, okay, I'm not coming. Let us be humble. Let us seek, more importantly, the wisdom of God in all our doings, in all circumstances that we are faced in our lives.
Wow. Well, so that means as Christians also, we also come into situations just like Queen Vashti.
Yes.
Whereby we have to make a decision.
Yes.
As to where to stand, what to go, what to say.
Yeah.
And Queen Vashti could have done a better job of seeking wisdom rather than just, wow. Okay, that's a good one. So, you already no, you haven't talked about Haman. You talked just a little bit. Can you touch more about
On Haman.
Haman, right?
Yeah, Haman is the evil guy.
He's like the killer of the movie.
Yes, Haman is just so evil. He's just so vile. So Haman was also part of King Ahasuerus' life. He had just been recently promoted as the second in command at the time that everything was going on. Mordecai, Esther coming into the palace and all that. He had just been promoted. And we'll touch a little bit about promotion or power. When you have power, people just misuse power. You have been promoted as king. Second in command. If the king is not there, you are there. And he enjoyed his power to where he tried to do evil out of it. That is not right. If God gives you power, know how to use it intelligently.
Right.
So the king gave him a lot of respect. The king commanded everybody to respect him to the extent of you need to bow before Haman wherever you see him. So he was very well respected. He had no boss but the king. Everybody had other bosses or people that were, under them or ahead of them. But when it comes to Haman, his boss was the king only.
Only one boss.
Yes. So he could make decisions in the palace as well. So one thing, what led to his downfall was the fact that Mordecai would not bow to him. His power led to his downfall. His misuse of power led to his downfall. He was able to, and he didn't have good friends, and his wife also was not a good person to advise him, because most men, you take advices from your wives. There are some ways or some decisions that you make that your wife or your wives play important roles in, in making those decisions. So when Mordecai had refused to bow down before him, he decided to plan to kill him. And then his anger rose even the more when he felt that, okay, after all, he's a Jew. Why don't I get rid of all the Jews? Including innocent people who even bow down to me, maybe, including children. Any Jew in the land of Persia has to be perished, according to Haman, because of one man,
person.
Mordecai. That is too
Abuse
bad.
of power.
Yes, that is too bad. And he was his evil intentions were being fueled by the friends around him, the friends he had around him, because he didn't go to the king to say, okay, Mordecai is not bowing to me, king. He felt like, okay, he also had power to do something against Mordecai or punish Mordecai without going to the king for, to tell him. And it was good he never went, because the king could have said, okay, immediately put him to death.
Right.
Because I decree that you bow before Haman. So it was good he never went to the king to report it. And God protected Mordecai too. Because the reason why he wouldn't bow before him was because he felt Haman wasn't God. He only bows down to one person, one
Thou
God.
shalt have no other God.
Exactly.
He was a Jew, so yeah.
Yes, so God protected him in all his ways. Whatever decision he made, even though it was risky for his life, God still protected him. Haman plotted all kinds of things. He got his wife and his friends pushing him. Oh, you could do this. You could even do this. You could command that the king put, all of them to death. They could have said, it doesn't matter. It's just one person who won't bow to you. It doesn't matter. Let it go. It doesn't matter. Just let it go. After all, you're king. It doesn't change your title or position as second in command. So just let it go. A good woman would have told him that.
Right.
So that was who just Haman was. The fact that he was just plotting evil. And he could have just said, okay, I'll just leave you in the hands of God. If you won't bow down to me, I just leave you. I won't revenge. Go ahead and do what you like. I will still be king. So the little lesson for for Haman's life is that vengeance is the Lord's. Don't plot or try to fight back physically or behind the scenes against somebody's life, to the extent that you want to kill him and other innocent people. Or even children, just because of one man. It's not the best. God has commanded us to give them, he said vengeance is his. So whatever is troubling you, no matter how unjustified you feel you've been dealt with, give it to God. Give it to God. And for Haman too, he didn't know who he was dealing with. Mordecai was a child of God. You don't play with children of God.
Right.
Know who you're dealing with. Know who you're dealing with.
Wow.
He was playing with fire. He didn't know.
And he didn't know.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
The way everything turned around for him was just so quick. It was like a very bad negative ripple effect on his life. From one punishment to the other, and even the humiliation he had to go through, the plot, the hole that he dug, he had to fall in it himself. Isn't that humiliating?
Oh yeah, it is, definitely.
You know,
definitely it is.
You plan something for somebody, only for you to go and then fall into it. You know. So aside that, the fact that he was punished on the things that he himself had created for Mordecai to be punished on.
That is deep. Kwame is watching now, and he has a question for you. He says, are there the spirit of Vashti in the church or marriages? If yes, then what should we do? Should we stick with them or sack them? And then, my sister is watching. The producer, Christian Teria, is also watching. And our elder Bismark Omari is watching. Elder Noah Jima is also watching. Elder, God bless you so much for the good job and the counseling you are giving to the church. God bless. Yeah, so Kwame's question is, do we have the spirit of Vashti? So I take it that he's trying to ask whether we have the spirit of pride. Sometimes the little positions that we have gets into our head. Do we have those things in the church or even in marriage?
And in our homes. And I know some men out there are doing a good job. They try to coach their women a little bit. They deal with it. Some men have it in their head that, okay, women are like that, you know. So either you deal with, because all women are like that. There are some Esthers in the marriage, in our marriages and in our homes, and there are some Vashtis as well. I would say don't sack a Vashti out of your marriage.
That's right.
Pray with her, coach her, guide her. If you love her, you will do everything in your power to make sure she's the Esther you want her to be. You cannot really change anybody. It takes the grace of God.
Right.
Don't go into marriage thinking, okay, when I marry her, I will change her.
You can't.
You can't.
Right.
It will. Some feel that, okay, maybe some men even beat their women because of pride and all that. Some men, okay, I don't want to deal with all this. This is stressful. Divorce. And it ends there. And then he goes for another woman, and she's probably even worse.
Worse, mostly, yeah.
Yeah. So don't sack a Vashti out of your marriage.
Wow, yes. That is deep.
Work with her through prayer. Whatever you can do. If you have to go through counseling, do it. Pride, everybody, we are humans. Pride comes with every human. So the end result or the solution is not to sack the person. In the case of the king, he was a king.
Right. And
those times, or in their era, it was a whole different ball game. Everything was death punishment, you know. It was very
little room.
Yes, there was little room for forgiveness or tolerance. They didn't tolerate any form of disobedience or they didn't tolerate anything like that. Anything that you did that wasn't correct, you're either banished to killed. If you appear before the king without his summoning you first, you will be killed. In those eras, in that time of the Bible, it wasn't, we didn't have it like we have it now. So you can't really compare, how Vashti was treated to today's woman.
Right. And then back to Haman. I think sometimes we are all Hamans in our little ways. We are not satisfied with the little power or the little influence we have. We think that everybody should bow to us, or in some way, we think that we can abuse the power that we have. Sometimes even as a boss at work, because you have that power, you can just talk to somebody anyhow without even realizing it. And power can so blind you that you don't even realize that is what you are doing.
Right.
You can be an elder, you can be a pastor, you can be an apostle, and sometimes you have a little bit of Haman in you, and you might not realize it.
Yes.
But all those things, if you look at the end of Haman, you know that that's going to be your end.
Right.
You will fall in your own little way.
Right.
And then he also mentioned he was playing with fire, and he didn't know he was playing with fire.
Yes.
We are also Jews in a way.
Yes.
We are the actual Jews.
Right.
Because they are the physical ones.
Right.
They are the shadow, and we are the reality. So, what can you advise people? Can you stress on that again? How important it is to know when you are dealing with Christians. Even Christians attacking Christians can be dangerous.
Yes.
Because the fact that the person is the apple of God's eye makes it a serious matter.
Yes.
Can you touch on that again?
Yes. So, as a Christian, some people just call themselves Christians and that's it. Oh, I'm a Christian. And that's it. No prayerful life. They are not really doing, because what Haman, the experience that Haman had, if you are not as humble and you are not of good deeds, or you don't do deeds like Haman did, you probably will not get through like he did. Okay? So if somebody is attacking you, you call yourself a Christian, you should know what type of Christian are you. Are you that powerful Christian on fire for God? Are you that prayerful Christian? So that when attacks like this come your way, God can easily, take you out of it. When Haman was plotting against Mordecai, he didn't know until it was announced that all Jews should be perished. We fight or wrestle against flesh. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Okay? So that is why the Bible admonishes us to always pray. Pray without ceasing, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. As a Christian, if you're doing that, when the enemy is plotting behind scenes or behind your back in the spirit realm, you will pass through like Mordecai did. But if you are just there and you say, I'm a Christian, you are not praying like the Bible tells us to do, you are not always in the spirit or in commune with God, the devil's attack will always come. And it will fight against you. If Mordecai probably wasn't prayerful, wasn't a good man in the eyes of God, whatever Haman plotted could have affected him and a whole generation.
And plus, Mordecai, sometimes, especially in our world, especially when we are also, just like Mordecai, we are in somebody's country.
Yeah.
And we have to sometimes bow to certain things to have some favors.
Yes.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I know.
Some favors that we need in order for us to go forward. We have to make some compromises here and there.
Yes.
But Mordecai was ready. And for him, for us, probably, you might be deported.
Oh, yes.
For us, that is the consequences. For him, it was death.
Yes.
And yet he was able to stand.
He was ready because he knew his God would deliver him. Just like the book of Daniel. Like it happened in Daniel.
Yeah.
With Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They said no, they weren't going to bow to any god. They put them in the lake of fire, a cage with fire in it. And the Bible talks about how angels were in the cage with them.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing how they were able to come out without any fire touching them. They stood their grounds. They know who they serve. Oh, if we are able to know who we serve, we'll go through life so easily. Anything that comes our way, we know God is there for us. He will fight behind us. He will fight before us.
We will suffer for a while.
Yes.
We will suffer for some time,
but
probably
he's
some years.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's going to show up.
Oh, yes.
Because for us, if you compare the consequences we have to suffer for some of these things, just because I didn't have my Incarata and all that, or probably some promotion that I needed, and I have to bow to people. The consequences is not death.
Yes.
Probably I'll be fired from work.
Yes.
There are women who are sleeping with people for promotions, for jobs here and there. The consequences of of not sleeping is something minimal. It's something very small.
You can deal with it.
You can deal with it.
Yes.
But for him, the consequences was going to be
great
death. And he was still ready. What are we lacking? What did these people know that we didn't know? Because, look at Daniel. These people were young boys.
Yeah.
Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. For Daniel, it was going to face a lion. And these people were ready. What is the reason? What can be the reason? It looks like for us, we just give up on our faith so easily. And even now, if you look at some of the other religions I don't want to mention, they are ready to do things for their religion.
Oh, yes.
How come we are so easy to let go of our faith?
Again,
something very little. And then
we are comfortable. Actually, so you mentioned Daniel. So Daniel's story is even different from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right. That was the correction you just made. Daniel had to face the lion. He was ready to die. If we are ready to die for God, he will deliver us.
The problem is we are not ready to die.
If we are ready to do anything for God, even if it takes our lives, he will show up for us.
Wow.
He will. He will. Daniel had to face lions. The angels were there with him. God was there with him. The lions were just going around him. They were probably playing with him.
Oh, yeah.
And with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were just in it. It felt like there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
While the people out there were seeing the degree of the heat.
Some of them even perished. Those who brought them into the
Yes,
fire.
they died.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, sometimes I sit down and I wonder, I mean, what is the difference between those days? Yeah, like you are saying, we take things so easy. And I think the kind of world we live in has also made life so easy for us.
Oh, yes, especially in America.
Yeah. So, in our minds, we expect everything to be easy.
Yes.
We take our phones and we are able to get in touch with the whole world, see everything at the same time. So, somehow we are programmed to live a short life.
Yes.
But for them, so many things, they have to... Even when I was growing up, you have to write a letter. And if, let's say, your father was in America, you have to write a letter and post it. Wait for 2 weeks for him to receive it. And then he is also going to reply. You wait for another... So 1 month for a simple message that he wanted to deliver.
Yes.
So whether you like it or not, you became a very patient person.
Oh, yes.
Life taught you to be tough. Probably the place I used to stay in North Carnation, and I used to go to school in Bubuash.
Okay.
So if you can imagine the place that I had to walk from, that alone could toughen you up.
Oh, yes.
But as the years go by, you realize that things are becoming easier.
Yes.
And because things are becoming easier, you expect God to also make things easier for you.
And
then
forget his rules and laws and
But
things that he's laid down for us to follow.
But patience and being an enduring person and being able to suffer, long suffering, are part of the things as Christians that we need to.
He didn't tell us it would be easy.
So
he didn't tell us it would be easy.
So what are you going to tell? This is going to be part 1. We are going to go into part 2. Yeah, because there's a lot that we have to. These people were just ready to suffer. And if you look at the story of Paul and Silas and all those people, they were ready to do anything for God.
Yes.
So what will be your advice? The other ones we are going to, the next time that we meet, we are going to go into them because there are so many lessons to be learned from the stuff that we learned so far.
Exactly. Okay, so as Christians, part of it too is when Jesus Christ came to die for us, things got a little better. Even in the Bible, there wasn't no more death punishments for everything you did. Every little thing you be put to death. God paid it. Jesus Christ paid it all for us. And we enjoy it. We're enjoying it. Like the sermon we had today in church. Christ has paid it all for us. He owns us. He's given us comfort. But then it doesn't still remove the fact that we still have to obey the written commandments or the laws that he's admonished us to obey. Those things are still there for us to follow. People don't fear to even, indulge in adultery. People don't fear to indulge in anything the Bible has commanded us not to do.
After all, there's grace.
After all, there's grace. God will forgive me.
That is one of them.
Yeah, God will forgive me. But in those days, these things happened before, the New Testament. So it was harsh in those days. It was harsh in those days. And if we want to be heaven conscious, we want to look at the characters of these people in the Bible and live as such so that... in the end, we'll also be able to go to heaven. Because after all this going to church and doing things for God and you don't end up in heaven, it's really sad. It's going to be a sad
all
day.
the sacrifices.
Yeah, all the sacrifices we've done for him. He might say, okay, I don't know you because you're doing something in the secret that he alone sees and knows. So let us remember the characters in the Bible, the great men of God and women, the great men of God and great women in the Bible.
That's right.
Yes, let's remember what they did. Let's look at their lifestyle and live as such. It will help us. If you don't know what to look at, to be able to, guide your life to end up in heaven one day, look at these characters. Look at these Bible characters. Listen, read the Bible, learn them, study them. When you read the Bible, there's so much that you can find. There are so many findings you can add or to your life. So let us concentrate more. There's a lot in the Bible that we are failing to probably look at. It's more like when you go to these churches or latter days, these latter days, most of the churches are preaching all kinds of things.
Feel good messages.
Yes, and they are the ones that have even more members. People are looking for all kinds of material
Because they
things.
make Christianity so comfortable for them.
Exactly. If God was to come and say, okay, I'm going back, I'm coming, I'm giving you all these rules, maybe like the Muslims have it, whereby they are so religious. You have to pray 5 times a day. You have to leave everything you're doing. They will leave their jobs. If they're selling in the market, they'll leave it and go and pray and come. If Jesus, or if God comes and says, this is what we have to do, I don't know how many Christians can still do it. But God has made it so liberal. We can sit here and pray. He hears us. You can sit in the comfort of your room and pray. He hears you. You don't have to go through these strict rules in order for God to hear you. He's omnipotent. He's all-seeing. So if he's made life comfortable for us, let us still not forget the rules and the laws that he had laid for us to follow. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not, life is not all about sweet. God give me this, God give me that.
Butter my bread, sugar my cocoa.
There's more to it.
And the problem is, the other thing that we lose sight of is the fact that he can also call you anytime.
Yes.
We think we have time. One of the problems, I read a story where the devils met and they were strategizing on how to conquer Christians. And this one will raise up his hand and suggest to Satan. One of the devils will just tell him, let us make them rich, so that they will be so rich, they will indulge in their enjoyment of their money and then forget about God. One will just say, let's give them more pleasure, let beautiful women go around them. Satan will say, no, I'm not interested in that. And then one of the demons raised up his hand and said, let us make them feel that they have more time. The devil said, that one will work. So that is the main strategy that they use. You think you have time. So you just do things anyhow. You don't live a godly life. You just go to church. You don't care anytime. So these are some of the things that we suffer. And then one day you are just called home. And then you don't have...
You've not done what you have to do.
You were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we as Christians, the fact is, because we are also aware of God's commands and stuff, the judgment is going to be stricter. Because every Sunday, we are being told the right thing. And that is the scary aspect.
Yeah.
That is the scary aspect. So more is demanded from us. Like Queen Vashti, obviously she knew that disobeying the king had consequences.
Yes.
And she just decided to take chances.
Right.
And that is what we do.
Right. Pride took the better part of her.
Or was she a drunk also?
No. I don't think. We didn't talk about that, but I don't think she was. She was in her right mind.
And in the right mind, you decided to disobey the king.
Yes.
Just to see whether probably she thought the king was so much in love with her.
Comfortable, being comfortable.
Yeah.
The king can never banish me or have me killed. The king loves me. I'm the most beautiful woman around here, around the palace.
Yeah.
Because the king even said it. These women you see around, wait till you see my wife, the Queen Vashti.
Wow.
So she felt comfortable with the king. After all, he loves me. After all, I don't think or believe that he can put me to death. I'm the queen.
Yeah.
I'm the queen.
And she couldn't imagine herself being cast out of the palace.
No.
Just like Adam and Eve.
Right.
They thought that they were so comfortable.
Yes.
God was always coming to them.
And when we go down further in our discussion, you'll see how the king laid down rules when Esther went onto the throne. That from now on, if I don't call you, you don't approach me. Yeah, because the king had to be respected. Maybe in Vashti's time, she could just go, oh, king, I need this. Oh, king, let's talk about that. They could talk. They had that familiarity. But in Esther's time,
the rules were different.
The rules were even more stricter. And she still sustained because she was humble.
Wow. So this is going to be part 1. Because I'm just having fun. I'm enjoying the story and the discussion. And for those who are watching, we are going to wrap it up here. Today we've been talking to our subject matter expert, and she's been giving us insights on the book of Esther. Deep insight. We've taken some lessons out of it, and I know you've also taken some lessons. The program is Echoes of Grace on Holyhills Radio. We're streaming live from Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Mr. Isaac Pinto is the CEO of Holyhills Radio, and of course, the man controlling the machine for us. Mr. Kesaditeria is the producer of this program. My name is Elder Bismark Omari Somuah, and today, like I said, we had Mrs. Sylvia Aryee. We thank God for how far He has brought us. Until we meet again, God bless you.